Okay, so I'm just hitting record. Okay, so welcome and thanks for coming, everyone, this evening and taking time out of your evening to join us. I can promise you it's going to be worth it because we've got the amazing Isabel Knight, who's a long-term. Well, we met in a business sense. I'm not going to give too much away because we're going to share some of this with you later. But we've become friends, I like to think, Isabel. Put words in your mouth. And so she's very kindly said she'd come and join us because her wisdom and her knowledge on mindset is just amazing. And I'm not sure if, I know Shirley, you were with us earlier today and you heard my journey. Well, Isabel's been behind me. She's the coach I talked about, who keeps me in check. I was going to swear then. Because I tell her to kick my arse.
Your butt, basically.
And yeah. She does. And I'm very, very grateful for it. But no, today she's talking to us in capacity of her expertise in mindset. And well, what I'll do is I'll hand you over to Isabel to introduce herself, and then we can get started. So over to you, Isabel.
Great, thanks, Paula. And yes, you definitely are a friend of mine, and it has been quite a few years now, haven't now about 4 years. And I would say to anyone listening, because I know that we've got Sam and Shirley on the call today, but I hope there'll be more people listening afterwards, is that I hope we have a good session this afternoon, or this evening I should say. And first of all, to everybody on the call and those listening afterwards, I wanted to acknowledge you for actually taking the time tonight. It's often difficult to carve out time, and this is time to invest in yourself and learn something about yourself. And my biggest phrase is an investment in yourself is the best investment you can make. And I know that you're on these webinars that Paula's running all this week, with a view to considering joining Paula's program, which is great because you're thinking potentially about starting your own business or growing your own business. And going back to the point that Paula made, I remember this was a dream of yours, gosh, moons ago, Paula. So an acknowledgement to you for putting this together and having the courage to start with an idea and make it happen. So Paula is definitely living proof that you can have a dream and make it happen. And hopefully tonight we'll talk about some of that. I can share some of my experiences and sort of discuss kind of where you start with that. And one of the things that I think, Paula, you would agree is that your program is going to be jam-packed with lots of content in terms of skills and learnings and tips and tools and lots of knowledge that you're going to learn.
Yeah,
it's great, and you need all that stuff. But I would say, and again, please interject, Paula, as much as possible, and actually also Sam and Shirley, because we have a small group tonight. So this is not me doing a pitch or a presentation. It's really going to be a conversation between us. Is that all that knowledge and skills and all that kind of stuff is great, but actually the first thing you need to work on is yourself. And for me, with any client, and I work with a lot of business, well, I work pretty much solely with business owners, and they come to me with, I want to grow my business. I'm like, that's fine, but the first place is working in yourself. So again, an acknowledgement for you and anybody else taking the time to listen, not just tonight, but any of Paula's sessions that you're doing. So, okay, right. So tonight we're going to talk about what is mindset and why it matters. And so again, we've got a small group. So why don't I ask? Well, Paula, you can't answer this because but Sam or Shirley, if you're willing to just answer, what do you think mindset is, and why do you think it's important?
I would say you need to have a bit of get up and go. You need to have the idea first of all, and you need to have the oomph to go and get it. And you need a bit of a why in the back of your mind, and keep reverting back to your why, and keeping on going, all that sort of resiliency stuff and accountability potentially, and getting rid of your imposter syndrome and all the self-doubt that creeps in. Depends on your circumstances for setting something up. Mine were due to redundancy, or pandundancy as we call it, but I wouldn't have probably done it otherwise. So mine was circumstantially driven, if you like, but I don't have a great big desire to have a great big empire with lots of associates and lots of things, because I'm kind of not elderly, but I'm on that the other end of the scale. And I'm not desperately keen on starting a great big business to leave to my daughter or anything. So, and somebody once questioned my mindset, and I thought, well, you don't know me, so how do you know what my mindset is to question it? But
very good, very good. Okay, great. So we've talked about a lot of different things, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Before I do that, Sam, do you want to add any thoughts about what you think mindset is and why it matters?
My situation's a bit different to Shirley's in that I don't have to change. I'm in a job, I've been in it for 6.5 years. It pays the bills. I like my colleagues. It's 2 minutes up the road, all those sorts of things. But the reason I've come to this conclusion that I do want to try this different route is that I work on average 50 hours a week. I'm a single mum to 3 girls, albeit they're 18, 20 and 22, through by accident. So yeah, I'm so sorry. Someone's ringing me. I'm so sorry. Bear with me. I'll just get rid of them.
Well, it always happens, doesn't it? You're on a call and the dog walks, or the cat walks across the
Yeah,
border.
yeah, exactly.
So sorry.
Or someone rings you.
Where have you gone? There you go. I'm so sorry. That was my partner. I did tell him I was going to be doing this. Apologies. But just to say that I think I need to build my confidence, which is part of the mindset, because it would be so easy to carry on what I'm doing. I've got the security of the job, the security of the finances and everything else. I'm the sole breadwinner. But I'm seeking that work-life balance. I've had enough of 50-hour weeks. I feel I'm too old to carry on doing that. And I want to be at home more. I want to be able to, because I have to go to the office. Even during the pandemic, I had to go to the office. And I just want to see more of my home, my children, my dogs.
Brilliant. Okay, great. Thank you, Sam. Anne, I saw you briefly. I hope you're still there. If you're still there.
Who, sorry?
She said she's having laptop problems.
Oh, okay. All right. Hello, Anne. I was just going to say welcome. I know you joined a few minutes late. We're just done a few introductions, and I just asked. We're going to talk tonight about what is mindset and why is it important. So we have a small group. So I was just, if you don't mind sharing or any thoughts that you have about what is mindset and why is it important.
I guess mindset is
caught you off guard. She's had a stress trying to get in because her laptop had died.
And look, don't worry, I'll tell you what. This is so. Look, that's right. I put you on the spot, so do not worry at all. So
it's controlling your mind, so it doesn't feel.
No. And now we can't hear you very well, but I think you're going to say, I'm going to extrapolate what you're going to say. It's controlling your mind, and so it doesn't control you. Maybe what you're going to say, or maybe it wasn't going to be what you were going to say. But a lot of what the three of you have said is all very important. What I've heard is the reasons for why you want to do this, why you want to start a business, which is great, and that's huge motivation. And what your motivations are. What I think is really important is something, I think it was what Sam, you said about confidence. And this is really what mindset's about. It's about a set of beliefs that you hold about yourself and the world around you. And these shape who you are and influence how you think, feel, and basically act in the world and in any given situation. And the reason this is important is because you're about to embark upon, or you already have a business and you want to get it to the next level, something new. And it's about really unpicking what is your mindset around this. Apart from your motivations, I understand the whys you want to do this, but checking in to go, actually, what am I really thinking about this? And not so much even on the conscious level, because your conscious mindset, it's what's going on. It's sort of in the background, if you like. And the impact of mindset is really important because it does two things. It explains how you experience life. And it also, so for example, you might be a glass half empty person where everything's just negative, or you might be, oh no, actually, we'll look for the positive in this situation. So and that's a very kind of crude example because it can be nuanced to different situations, but it's how life shows up for you. It's also it also dictates how you deal with certain situations. And one of you mentioned about fear and doubt, and one of my absolutely favorite quotes is this, is that fear and doubt stole more dreams than failure ever did. Fear and doubt stole more dreams than failure ever did. And I think that is critical because we all have fears and doubts about different things, and it's really important to acknowledge them, that they're there, and then work on ways to basically a new mindset to overcome those fears and doubts when they come up. So essentially that is what mindset is essentially. And I wanted to share with you something else that I thought was important. Is, I don't know, does anyone have a dog here in the group?
Yeah.
No? Okay, or maybe have friends with dogs. And so I had a very good friend of mine. I used to live in the Alps, and in the Alps you don't have fences. In the gardens in this country you have fences everywhere. In the Alps you don't have them. You just sort of have boundaries, and your properties sort of roll into the next one. Well, they needed to keep their dog in their boundary, so they went and bought one of these electronic collars. And it was fascinating watching this dog, who was quite young when he first got this thing, and he'd go up to the boundary and he'd get a little electric shock, and he'd get a little electric shock and get a little electric shock. Well, enough electric shocks, and that dog never went round near the boundary again in the time that I knew him. And what was interesting, they got to the point where they didn't even have to turn the boundary on, because that dog had learnt sort of set of beliefs that stopped him from going over there. And this is a very very useful example, a real life example. I know it's with a pet, but the point works just the same for us, is that we have a set of beliefs that some of which will stop us. Some of your beliefs have got you to this point tonight. So they've got you to actually, I know that I can do this. I know that I want to move on. I want to better myself. There are beliefs that have got you where you are in your life and have served you. However, there are beliefs and mindsets that perhaps haven't, well, I'm going to tell you, they haven't served you. And there's another quote that I like, which is from Einstein, and that's about any situation, any problem or issue that you have in life cannot be solved with the same level of consciousness that got you to this point, i.e. do what you did and you'll get what you got. So if you keep thinking the same way, you're going to end up with the same results. So it's really important, as you're embarking upon potentially joining Paula and starting your new business or growing your business, to check in and think about, actually, what is my mindset here? What do I really believe about this? Because if I don't address that, then if you don't address that, then no amount of learning all the skills and content that Paula is going to provide for you is going to get you where you want to get. The starting point is how you think. So having said all that right now as a little introduction to mindset, anyone have any comments or thoughts or want to add to what I have just said just now? Nope. Okay, very good. Right, so look, I thought, I mean, I don't know to what extent you would like to find out a little bit about me, because you don't know, Paula's very kindly shared a little bit about that I'm a business coach. I want to share a few things with you, because I think it will help sort of illustrate this point about how in my life I felt that changing my mindset has had different outcomes in how my life has panned out, if you like. And so very briefly, my background was I was in banking, but before I was in banking, I was working in a charity, and I was volunteering there. And then one evening, a woman walked in with her son, her young son. I think he was 6, 7, 8, something like that. And he walked in and he said, Gorbachev, I've watched on the news, it must have been Newsround or something like that. And he said, there's the Russians are supplying arms to Ethiopia or Eritrea, I can't remember which one it was at this point in time. And Mr. Gorbachev has just sort of changed the world over here. And can we ask him to stop sending arms to Ethiopia so we can stop the war? So there's this young boy, no question of any fear or doubt or that it wasn't possible. He came in with the belief, it's possible, can you help me? Now, I and a friend went, oh yeah, sure we can, because I was quite young at the time as well. And essentially with that level of belief, we knocked on lots of doors. We managed to get a plane, get 65,000 letters from kids around the world. We went to see the Gorbachevs in Moscow. We asked him to end a war in Ethiopia. And sometime later that year, this was back in 1990, he brokered a deal to end the war in Ethiopia. And that started with a kid who went, can we do this? And a belief that it was possible. So that sort of set me off on a path of actually two things really. One is anything is possible if you believe it to be so. And having the resilience, I think one of you mentioned, to just keep going on with things. So having learned that at a relatively early age, I've really recognized that actually focusing on what you want and having that mindset that I can do this is really important. Now, I won't go into all the details of my different things that happened, except that I would say that there came a point where I was in the city and I basically got promoted over. Now you can imagine what my mindset was after that, like, oh my goodness, I failed, I don't know what to do. This big dream that I had of becoming a CEO of a bank shattered in a million pieces. And my mindset of I can do anything went by the wayside, lost all that. And I really struggled with actually, where am I going? What am I going to do next? Now, I had a friend, a very good friend of mine who, when I was in the, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Said to me, she said, what are your dreams? What do you dream of? And called to mind a dream that I had when I was maybe 14, 15, 16, that I wanted to ski really well. I wanted to be able to look at movies and watch how, you see a movie, James Bond, he skis down the slope and it's all very neat. And I thought I'd really always wanted to be able to ski like that. And she said, well, why can't you? Because now you have an opportunity to go and do that. And I thought, actually, you're right. Two things happened then. One is I remembered a dream I had. And two, I thought, oh, I remember when I was younger, I realized I could do these things. And all I have to do is believe that it's possible. So essentially, long story short, I quit my job. I ended up in the Alps. I ended up learning to ski like that. Learning French was much more difficult, but we'll talk about that a little bit later, because I'm going to ask you some things about that, and not about French, of course, because that would be a different webinar. Again, I want to just illustrate the point about how life is a series of ups and downs and challenges, and when we're really down and facing obstacles, more than anything, it's going back to a mindset that will help you out of the place that you may have got yourself stuck. And again, we're not necessarily talking about it tonight, but having a dream of like, where do you want to go? So a number of you have talked about where, wanting to start businesses and why you want to start them. Hold that really importantly in front of you, because that's going to carry you through, along with a positive mindset, through any obstacles, which you will come across, because it's inevitable. We are human beings living a life in this lifetime, and you are going to come across obstacles. But having the right mindset and having a dream that you want to go for will help you get through that. So, there's a kind of a little bit of trying to illustrate for you a little bit about why mindset is really important. What I'd love to do now is I want to share with you, if it's okay, Paula, is a little slide to help you understand how this works, how this mechanism works, and most importantly, how you can start to uncover your own mindset, because very often mindsets are a funny thing. They tend to be running in the background, if you like. So I always liken it to a computer. We're all computers. We've got these amazing computers in our head called our brains, and sometimes we get a little virus in there, and we get a little program that corrupts the operating system. And the key thing is to, if you run a computer and you think it's not working quite, it's working slower, this doesn't work quite as it should do, it's finding that virus first and foremost. So it's finding the negative mindset, what is that? And then taking out that piece of software, taking it out and replacing it with a new piece of software. And that is a process that Paula has gone through on numerous occasions with me about how to shift your mindset. And I'm not proposing to do that tonight on the call, just because it's just a process that takes more time than we have. But what I will do is I'll give you some ideas about how this mindset thing works and the principles of how you could start doing this yourself. So if you're happy to share, let me share the screen. I will do that with you guys now. Again, before I do that, has anyone got any questions? Just going to check in with everybody.
Do you have permission, Isabel? Do you not have...
I should do. I am just trying to find the right, there we go, the right slide. I don't have many, guys. I just wanted to do this. There we go. Right. This is kind of the head, heart, hand model. I can't even remember where I think it might be cognitive behavioral therapy. I've read about this a long time ago, but for me, what resonated for me is I know my head, I understand my heart very well, and my hand. And essentially, your head, heart, and hand are all connected. And I mean, obviously they're connected, but the point being is they're connected very often in a very unconscious way. And we get triggered by a thought that creates an emotional reaction that then we act from. So let me show you this in a diagram and see if this works. Let me just see if this works. Right. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. We've got these are all connected. So we have a thought, we feel a certain way, we take actions, and then we get the results that show up in the world, if you like. And the way this works is like this. So essentially, we have a thought that might be very often unconscious. Oh, I don't think I can do that. Oh, that's not possible. Oh, I'm no good at that. I don't deserve that. I'm not able to do that. I'm not good enough, whatever it might be, which then drives how you feel. And you can see some of those mindset thoughts, those thoughts that I just shared with you, probably would drive negative emotions. You could have similarly other mindsets, because I said there are positive mindsets and there are negative, if you like, or I hate to call them positive or negative, but positive and other mindsets that perhaps don't serve you going forward. But you could be, actually, I think I'm a great parent. Oh no, I can run. Oh, I'm really good at organization. I'm really good at this. You'll see in your own life that there are different mindsets playing out all the time. So you'll have these thoughts. They'll drive how you feel. We always act out of how we feel. So your actions driven by your thoughts and feelings, and this ends up in the results that you get, and that's what you see in your world, in your life, if you like. And then what happens is the results that you get in your life then provide the evidence to support your mindset. Does that make sense to everybody? And again, if we went through this, you'd be able to go, oh, I'm really good at this thing, and here's all the evidence. I've done that. In the same way, you could say, well, I really can't do that, and you'd find all the evidence to support you in that. And the thing that's really nuts is that all it is a thought in your head, and you're just looking for the things that support the thought that you have. Does that make sense? So, knowing all this, how can you unpick this? How can you unpick the reality that you create in your head, which is to say we all do, and how the world shows up is basically between here and here. And that's the scary thing, is that we're so in our heads all the time that how we experience life is basically in the space between our ears. So let's kind of deconstruct this then, and I want to use the example of New Year's resolutions, for example. That's just because that's a good thing to look at. We've all done that in the past. So maybe you have a result that what you're seeing in the world is you're overweight. That seems to be a theme for many people. Is I'm not happy with my body. I feel like I'm a few pounds overweight or a few kilos overweight. So that's the result that you don't want that anymore. Great, right? So what happens is you go, right, I'm going to get fit. So that's the thought, right? I'm going to get fit, right, I'm going to get fit. This is going to be good. You go to the gym, you feel great because you're going to do this, you feel determined. Then you go to the actions part, you go and buy some gym shoes, you go to the gym, for a few weeks, that's all great. And then one day, your boss, or somebody shouts at you, or something happens at home, something happens where you just feel a bit grotty, you feel not so great, your heart goes, I don't feel so good about myself for whatever reason. And then following on from that, not feeling so great, the idea of going to the gym doesn't feel so appealing, so you don't go. And then you don't go, which supports your mindset. Oh, you know what, that whole fitness thing, yeah, I knew, I thought I could do it, but really, no, I can't, because I tried all those other times. Do you remember all the evidence that I tried that before and it didn't work? So I'm just going to believe that I'm no good at this. I'm always going to be fat. I'm always going to be overweight. I'm going to go for that. Feel bad, go for the chocolate biscuit. And so it goes on. Can you see how this loops round the whole time? Is anyone not? I can't see if you're nodding your head, but essentially this is how we operate, right? Okay. So understanding this is so important, because if you want to change something, any result that you're getting, we tend to start with the actions, right? Go to the gym, get the gym shoes, give up chocolate biscuits, whatever it might be, for a week. But as soon as our heart gets involved, which is driven by our head, if you like, but unconscious thinking, those two things change the actions, and the New Year's resolution, the thought that we had we're going to get fit is washed away, because we have thoughts, but they're not dealing with the unconscious mindset that we have, that might be that, no, really, I'm always destined to be fat, or no, I really can't do this, or I'm no good at sport, whatever that really unconscious mindset is. And that's the level at which we have to work, not the conscious, the unconscious mindset. So let's take this to a real result here, a real scenario for tonight, which is about you wanting to start your business. And again, you might have in your head, right, I really want to do this. And you might be feeling really positive tonight because you're feeling pumped up. Yeah, no, this is going to be great. I'm giving up this time. And you know, tomorrow you may sign up for Paula's thing. This is fantastic. You've done the action, and you might do that for a few weeks, and that's all great until something happens and Bill comes in, or something that you just knocks you sideways. A crisis happens. You haven't got the time. Things are not happening as you want it to happen. You're not getting the results you want. And suddenly the mindset that I was never any good at this, it was never going to work out. There's no way I can get a business because I just can't. It's not possible. I don't know how. Whatever it is that's unconscious in your head will stop you, and it will derail you. So I'm highlighting this because it's really important for you guys to really embrace and have the courage to really look at, actually, what do I really feel about this? And not the wanting to. I get that you want to do this, but actually, what might be stopping me? What might be the limiting beliefs that I'm carrying through this? And looking at ways that you can shift that, because if you can identify actually what might be holding you back, then it's a bit like you found the virus. Then it's a case of, right, take that virus out, and using positive affirmations, other things to put in a new mindset. I want to share with you. So we've talked about this model again. Before I go on, does anyone have any questions about this model, or comments, or insights, or oh my gosh, that you want to share before I go on? Does it all make sense to you?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so this is just a model, right? It's just a model of how we operate. But actually, what's really interesting is there's science behind this. And I, back in the day, was a scientist. So this always, I think, is really fascinating. Is to change your mindset is actually to go against your biological nature. So you really are up against it. Not to say it's impossible. And actually, when you crack this, anything's possible. Back in the day, when we were all cave people, we were built with a negative bias, because when we were back in the day looking for food, if we were, oh my gosh, look, the sun's out, it's a great day, I'm feeling fantastic, everything's wonderful, life is amazing, then we wouldn't notice the saber-toothed tiger in the bushes, and we'd be breakfast for him. So we have actually biologically been designed to look for the negative in a situation? What could be wrong? What could be dangerous about this? Because it's how we've had to stay alive from back in the day, right? Does that make sense to you? And that is literally how we are designed. And we have that flight, fight, or freeze. That mechanism is inbuilt in us. So that is your amygdala, which, as I said, has this negative bias. So it stops you being more resourceful, because you literally have cortisol, which is a chemical that stops the neurons firing in your brain. So you literally shut down. So when those negative thoughts, I can't do this, it's not possible, your brain literally starts shutting down. So ways to overcome a particular problem, obstacle, or danger in front of you, you're stuck with run away, freeze, or fight on. And very much in our lives today, we don't fight, we tend to freeze, or I'm not doing this anymore, I'm going to give up because it's just easier. And that becomes conditioned pathway. So those ways of thinking become ingrained. So the neurons literally start creating pathways in our brain, so that habitual thinking about, no, I can't do that, that's not possible, become the truth for us, right? The neurons that fire together wire together. So and that's the thing that we need to look at. How do we change that? How to change that conditioned thinking to another way of thinking, building up a new pathway in your brain, which is completely possible because you've done it zillions of times since when you were a baby. It's just being conscious enough to recognize that this is going on, recognizing what those limiting beliefs or thoughts that aren't serving you anymore, and choosing, okay, I'm going to think differently about this. I'm going to change my mindset about this. I can do this. It is possible. I have the capability, whatever that new mindset might be, and keep firing that over and over again whenever you notice the old mindset coming up. So basically there's science behind it, which is what I wanted to kind of highlight for you. So that's the science, that's the model for it. What I want to do now is I was going to ask you to do a little activity, because it's all very well me talking about mindset, sharing some of my thoughts on this. I thought if we did a few minutes of something, and I'm going to ask you if you've got a pen and paper or a typewriter, whatever you like. How old am I? Computer, however you want to make a note of it, doesn't really matter. I'm going to ask you three questions. I'd just like you to write down the answers. Okay, so we don't have to think about this too much. And if you're listening on a recorded on this recorded session, do the same thing, because it's relevant for all of us. So the first thing I want you to write down is, can you write down one thing that you've always been good at? Write down one thing you've always been good at. Okay, now second thing, I want you to write one thing down that you'll never be any good at. You'll never be any good at that. Right, third thing, I want you to write down one thing that you weren't good at, but you've become good at over time. Right, okay. So has everyone done that?
Yes.
Great, okay, so what I want to share with you now is, I'm going to do another slide. Has anyone heard about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset? No, okay. So I'm going to come back to what you've just what we've just done, because I think it'll be interesting. Is we talked about changing your mindset from a certain way of thinking about things to help you overcome limiting beliefs. So there's a woman called Carol Dweck, who is a psychologist, and she's found out that, we know this, but she has written many books on how mindset plays an important role in achieving success. And she's basically, and I'll just see if this works. She's basically, so just finishing that slide. is, again, I don't know if you can see this, is that she feels that there are two different mindsets, a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And I want to just talk about these with you, because just earlier we were talking about specific mindsets that you might have, which are useful to unpick. But if we talk sort of more generally about these two different mindset, what she determined was essentially that in our lives we can have basically a fixed mindset that I'm no good at this, I can't do this, I don't have the talent, it's just not possible to do this, and we get shut down in certain areas. And it may be you're somebody who's just of a fixed mindset. I have to say on this call, I don't think that's the case, because you wouldn't be here. You want to grow. So, but you may in your life know people who are, I'd say, closed-minded, nothing's any good, they're always complaining, they just don't think they can do things. And that's a sort of very extreme example, but that's what we call by a fixed mindset. And then there's the growth mindset. She says there's this other way of thinking, which is where we embrace failure. We embrace the chance to learn, to grow. I might not have the talent to do X, but I can learn it. It is possible. And you're about to embark upon a course where you might not know how to run a VA business, but you're going to learn some things. And it might not all be easy, but you're going to put the effort in, and you know that over time, with the right feedback, with the right support from Paula, you'll be able to get through this, because you have that growth mindset. And it's really important to make these two distinctions, because if you recognize those, and you might be able to recognize them in your own life, then it's important to see how one closes you down and one opens you up. So let's go back to those questions I asked you, because having just explained that to you, the three questions I asked, look at those things you've written down and think about actually what did you believe about yourself, and how did you do that one thing that you're always good at, the thing that you've never been good at, and the one thing that you weren't good at but you became good at over time. What allowed you to do that? So just take a few minutes, a minute or so, 30 seconds, and think about that, because then what I'd like to do is just sort of share with the group. Again, we've got a small group, so I think we have enough, we can have a little chat about what you learned from what I've just said and from the responses that you've given. So if you've had a chance to look at your answers, has anyone got any observations or anything you noticed about what you wrote down, and now knowing about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, what that might sort of share, anything you want to share about what you've seen or thought about?
Probably the one which you couldn't do once but can do now would have taken position 2 at one point, which would have been you couldn't do it, and you would never think you could do it, but you did because you tried it. Sort of.
Well, in your own example, how did you?
Well, my learning languages is one of the things I've always been good at, which is fine. And then the two others weren't related to anything like that. Something I can't do is handstands. Because I can't bend my hand in that. I've had an operation in my hand, so I can't actually physically do it. So it's a physical limitation, not a mental one.
Yeah.
And then weights at the gym. I have got a problem with the shoulder as well as my hand. So, but I've just built my way up to it, and now I can't do very heavy weights with my hands. I can with my feet, but I can't with my hands. But I can use my hands to do it. I can use my shoulder to do it. But I still wouldn't tackle a handstand.
Yep. So what did you overcome? What shifted for you?
Just having a go, and just because I've got a trigger finger as well, so gripping things is tricky. But I just did it in small weights, and there are certain movements I can't do, but I can do other movements. So I can do heavier weights by making my shoulders go back and out, you know, so I can actually do quite a lot of pulling down that way. And I did think I couldn't because of my shoulder was a problem. So it's just a particular movement I can't do with my shoulder. I can actually do other things, but I can only do little weights in certain angled things, but I can do big weights in others. So
great. I think that's a great example of a growth mindset where actually I definitely can't do that because there's a physical limitation, but actually I'd quite like to try that, and I'm going to see what it is, and that feedback the whole time. I can't do that, but I'm going to try that, and trying it and probably failing. You know, I can't do it that way.
Well, hurting mainly, but
well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, hurting. But also, I'd say that there was a mindset there about I am going to give this a go. I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to give it my all, rather than I can't do that. So
I don't like being beaten. That's the other thing.
There we go.
You know.
So very good. Anyone else have any insights or comments or want to share anything with us?
Well, I think my number 3 was tech. So I didn't think I was very techy, but I actually become quite techy. And this is an interesting one because every time there's a new tech that I need to learn, I feel like it could quite easily jump into space number 2. I can't do that. And then I have to sort of push through and think, no, a bit like you, Shelley, I'm not going to be beaten by this. I'm going to learn it. And so I'd say, yeah, tech is kind of always an ever going on battle, you know, of testing my mindset.
Fabulous. So actually, Paula, I thought great you brought that up, and it wasn't scripted, but actually, and it might be for other people in the group or those listening, is this is a number of years ago. I absolutely hated IT. It's not my thing, and I began every time something IT, I would be overwhelmed. I didn't know how to do it. I mean, basically, I hate IT. That was absolutely my mindset. Not that I'd speak it out. I thought it was unconscious. I'm no good at it. It's not possible. So that really limited me. And I thought, okay, so I can keep complaining about this and being a struggle about this, or I can change my mindset. And I literally wrote on my whiteboard, this is my new mindset. Instead of having, I hate IT, I'm no good at it, I wrote on my board, I use IT to empower, enrich, and enhance my life. And I can tell you that mindset shifted how I interact with IT. And funny enough, I'm now MD of a tech company, which is hilarious. It just goes to show, right, how again, this goes back to the point that there are mindsets in every area of our life when we start to explore it, and how they can debilitate us and stop us, or we can go, I don't want to be stopped here. I need to think differently about this. I need to have a different mindset, and with that mindset, be willing to try it, give it a go, fail, whatever it might be, moving in from the fixed mindset, it's not possible, to a growth mindset. So brilliant. Thank you for sharing that, Paula. Anybody else? You don't have to, but if anybody would like to share anything else.
When I started my job, which I do now, which I've been doing for 6.5 years, I used to work before that in the NHS in clinical theatres. So I used to work with anaesthetists. And so nothing to do with admin, nothing to do with typing. I'd never typed in my life before. And I had to leave the NHS because, being a single mum to the 3 girls, I couldn't get cover for night shifts and that sort of thing. So I was driving to an agency near me to look at being a care assistant in a care home, something like that. And I drove past an estate agent, and I had my CVs with me, and I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. I need to change jobs. So I walked in there, and I thought, maybe I could get a job viewing houses, something like that. And I walked in and I said, I don't suppose you have any jobs going? And they said, yes, our secretary's just left. And I thought, oh my God, because I didn't even know where the on button to the computer was. And I said, yeah, great, I can do that. And honestly, in my head, I was thinking, what are you doing? And then I just thought, actually, what is the worst that can happen? No one's going to die, like in hospital theatres. What is the worst that will happen? And I walked in there day one, never having typed in my life. They'd never asked me if I could type. So I thought, well, I'm not lying. And I've been there 6.5 years.
Fabulous. And you know what your mindset was? I can do that. That's what your mindset was, right? And it overcame any other doubts. I can learn that. it's all possible. I can do that. So, and just very often we speak our mindsets without realizing it. So again, the point about this tonight was to help you raise your awareness about how you think and watch what comes out of your mouth. So brilliant, very good. Again, I don't know if I can't see everybody. I think it's Anne. I don't know if Anne's still there. Did you don't have to, but if you'd like to share anything, just because again it's a small group, didn't want to make anyone feel left out. So you can go, no, I don't want to share anything, or yes, I can.
I'm not sure. Do you want to share, Anne, or not? No?
No, that's all right. Very good. Okay, well, look, for me, I just feel this is that exercise is quite good, because the key thing is it does illustrate a number of different things. One is where we have positive mindsets, the things that you've always been good at. You've probably been good at them and you now believe in them. You've got lots of evidence that you're good at that thing. And then the fixed mindset, or the mindset, I can't do that. Maybe there's an actual physical obstacle in your case, Shirley. So, but actually what was interesting, there's a physical obstacle there, and yet where you have demonstrated you couldn't do, but you've learned to do something different, you've actually demonstrated brilliantly the growth mindset. And we all have this in our lives. So it's just being, again, aware of how mindset can be used in our life to positive effect, and where we trip ourselves up basically with limiting beliefs or fixed mindsets. So I can't do that, I don't know how to do that. Recognizing that is just a thought in our head, and if we just change our thinking, it will change how we interact and the actions that we take. Again, change the mindset, and we'll get much more results. We'll get lasting results, if you like. And it's understanding really what's going on unconsciously that's really important. Does that make sense to everybody? Very good. To finish on there, what I wanted to is to just share with you a few things in terms of where you see you might be stopped, or where you might think, oh, I can't do that, that's not possible, or when fears and doubts come up, they can close us down. And it's really important to just have a few tricks, if you like, or not tricks, that sounds like a magic game. It's not a magic game, it's tools. I'm talking about tools in your toolbox for how to help unstick a fixed mindset that isn't necessarily serving you. So the first thing I would say, was right at the beginning of this conversation, was to really put personal development, your personal growth, at the top of your priority list. And I'm sure Paula will be interspersing this throughout her program, but actually working on yourself is the best thing you can do, and make that your priority in terms of, as you go through this program, how can you better yourself. Second thing I would say is, and again we talked about this earlier, is focus on the journey, focus on the dream that you have. Where do you want to get to, and recognize that this is a journey, and it will have diversions and blocked roads and obstacles and all kinds of things, and it's all part of getting to where you want to go. And if you adopt a growth mindset where you really look at, actually, so I think I failed on this, or I failed on this. My view on that is that there is no such thing as failure. It's all feedback. In the companies that I work with, and again, Paula will know this, is that one of the things that I make people do every time we meet is to review what's worked and what's not worked. And by looking at what's worked and what's not worked, the failures, if you like, you can use those failures to learn and become better. And I call them learnings. So they're failures that can turn into learning, so you can become better next time. So definitely focus on the journey. If you're struggling with a task, remember, again, Shirley, you demonstrated it well with doing the weights thing. If you're struggling with something, you may not yet have mastered it. So it goes back to a journey, and it's the not yet. I haven't done this yet. So it's integrating that word. I haven't got there yet. And it allows you to go, I'm still working on this, and that's okay to still be working on it. So, and that you can overcome struggles, and you'll all have stories and situations in your life where you have overcome struggles and obstacles and succeeded. And when if you remember back to the bit before you succeeded, there'll be a point where you weren't there yet, and you might be in that same stage. So that's a useful sort of little trick to remember. Very important. And again, Paula knows this, when I coach her, I'm really a stickler for actually recognizing the things that you say that come out of your mouth. Pay attention to the words and your thoughts, because very often they'll just slip out. I can't do that, it's not possible. Hold on a second, I just said that. Oops, no, you know what, I'm just going to change that. So be really, really cognizant of what you're saying. And again, in the group, if you're having conversations, check each other out. Actually, you said you couldn't do that. I know you can, because you did it there, there, and there. So reframe what's happening in when you notice that. So again, being vigilant on that. And as I've just talked about, take on challenges. Do the things that you think, oh, I'm not sure I can do that. Take them on, because that's where you're going to learn. Fail, fall over, make a mistake. It's okay to make a mistake, because that is a critical part of changing your mindset, and embracing that culturally is what's going to enable you to get to the next level, to have that open mindset to succeed in where you want to get to, which you shared with me earlier, creating businesses that work for you. So that's pretty much all I want to say, sort of in any kind of structured way. I'm happy to answer any questions or share any thoughts, and certainly Paula, maybe, I know we've got a little bit of short amount of time left, is how might be useful just for the team, because I've talked all night, is sharing what, how changing your mindset has had an impact on you.
Yeah, well, hugely. I do talk about this quite a lot throughout wherever I'm speaking, to be quite honest. But I met Isabel, I think it's 6 years ago, on that business startup course.
Right.
And we did some coaching then. And what we did then is we wrote a new mindset, if you remember, and I found that a really helpful. In fact, we did it not so long ago, and to demonstrate, I've got it on my little post-it in front of me. This is what we did about a month ago, but yeah. And I found that exercise really, really helpful. Is like, because you picked me up on something, you've picked me up on quite a few things, but there's a couple that really stick out for me. And I remember one time you said to me, and this is going back a few years ago, you said, oh, how did you phrase it? And you said something along the lines of, well, that because you're going to fail at that, because then that would prove you right, because you like to prove yourself right, don't you, Paula? And I was so shocked, and I thought, you've absolutely got me in a nutshell there. And I really had to look at that. I thought, oh my goodness, ain't that the truth? And that was a huge turning point for me. It's like, yeah, I have to prove myself right that I'm going to fail at that. So that was a really big one. But this exercise of writing down a new mindset, I mean, we came across, we started a session a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And there was something sort of, and you at the back, that you were sort of clearly picked up on, that I was not conscious of. And I think it was, we dug into that, and I had to rewrite that mindset. And I think that, this is what we came up with then. And I have it stuck in front of me. I have lots of little things like that. I say I'm not woo-woo, but this I kept coming across white feathers, and I looked up what it meant.
All right.
And this is what white feathers mean, and I kept coming across them. So I just put this in front of me. It says strength, growth, hope, and freedom. I mean, really, you can't write it. So yeah, I'm really all for mindset. It is really everything. It really is the only thing that will get in your way of getting to your vision. And my vision is still a long way off. I don't know if you remember, Isabel, but on day one it was a cottage in Devon that overlooks the sea, and that's still a long way off, but I'm a heck of a way down that road to getting there, and I think these change periodically, depending on what the hurdle feels at that time. But the point is that you can keep changing, what you think you can't do. You can change that, and success is there, whatever that looks like for all of you. It's there for you to go and grab.
Very good. Thank you, Paula. Anyone have any comments or thoughts before we wrap up for tonight?
Sorry, I thought Sam's one, what's the worst that can happen, is just really it, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen? And my kind of thing at the back of what I do is mostly is a contingency. So if something bad did happen, I've got a plan B up my sleeve. You know, I never expose myself to one plan. I've always got something, you know, in case. So that's maybe anticipating failure, maybe, which is not quite the same thing, really. I don't think. I think it's just like, what's the worst that can happen, and let's just do that in case it does. And then there's it's not going to stop me. There's another plan. So
again, so just going to use that as an example, Shirley, because one mindset could be I'm expecting the worst. That could be I expect the worst, so I need to have plan A, B, and C, and that could be a mindset, right? Yeah. Or it could be I prepare for every eventuality for my success.
Mm-hmm.
Could you
That's
see
kind of more that way, yes. Yeah.
So, but it could be doing the same action but a different mindset. And you know what? If you go into that with oh God, it's not going to work, so I need to have plan A and B. You're just not going to accelerate or get where you want to get to as fast as actually I'm prepared for my success. And can you see that there'll be a different way of thinking that will propel you more opportunities, that growth mindset rather than the fixed one. I'm just picking up on that as an example.
Yeah. Well, anybody got anything else they want to ask before we call it a night? Was everyone flagging?
I just want to say thank you, because this is my first dipping my toe in the water, and I was a little bit apprehensive before joining in, and it's actually reinforced my plan of doing this. So thank you to Isabel and to you, Paula.
No, you're very welcome. I'm so pleased. I mean, this was actually the perfect one for you to come along to first, because Isabel, as I said at the beginning, is absolutely brilliant at helping you to just reframe things that you might be thinking. And if you can just stop and reframe things for yourself, it really unlocks things. And I've no doubt that, we all, because I mean, I'm sure I know Isabel's still got a vision. She's in the middle of an amazing, huge project, and she's well on her way down there. We've all got things we're still working to achieve, and so this is a work in progress always, and I definitely keep coming back to having to work on my mindset. And I just really want to stress how important that is for you to get to where you want to go, whether that be in the VA business or otherwise. I think.
True. Very true. Brilliant.
Shall we wrap up?
I think it would be a good place to stop. Thank you.
Yes, I think.
Thank you very much.
Cup of tea time, I think.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
thanks so much.
So thanks for joining us live, ladies. I hope you've got a lot from it. I know I always get so much value from Isabel. Isabel, thank you so much for your time. I really am very grateful. It's so invaluable, this topic. And so thanks for giving up your evening and your wisdom and sharing that with us tonight. I hope you all have a lovely evening. And for those of you that are joining us tomorrow, we've got a marketing session at lunchtime. And we've got a finance session in the evening with my accountant, and that's going to be about profit first strategy. So I love the profit first model. If you don't know it, it's can't for the life of me think who wrote it. Amazing book about how you can structure your finances in your business, and it's absolutely brilliant. And she's going to be sharing that with us. So join us, Isabel, if you like. I'll give you, it's the same link in actual fact. It's the same link, ladies, all the way through. So if you're scrabbling around and you can't find it, it's the same one.
Brilliant.
So they're the things tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your evening, and thanks for joining us live tonight.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye.